said I got to say something, baby, hand me the mic. I said I got to say something, better hand me the mic. Somebody hand me a mic, cause I got to say something, so just hand me a mic. When I need to say something, better hand me the mic. I said I got to say something, better hand me the mic.
We've all seen them, like, daft polls, like, on the internet, and they'll say stuff like, oh, the most deprived place in the country is the northeast, and it's this, it's that, it's the other. Truth is, like, I think Darlington's lovely.
I think it is, yeah. I think Middlesbrough's, like, comes up with them polls a lot, doesn't it?
It can be, yeah. It can be.
And stuff.
But I don't know, I think Darlington's you know, like, I think Southpaw mentioned it, oh, yeah, if it wasn't for the drugs and the crime, and I'm thinking, what drugs? What crime? So, I mean, yeah, you know, there's the coke epidemic, if you like. That's all over the country. That's not just Darlow, but I think we do pretty well, really. I
think so. I think it looks quite nice, doesn't it, with the town clock and all that? It's like a quite quaint town, really.
Yeah. It feels... Again, this is just a personal wonder. You know, like, I know through a little bit of research, you're from Skerne Park.
Originally, yeah. I was only like 2 when I moved out of there.
Right.
But my family was from there.
Right.
Before that.
And I'm from Branksome. Now, these, as a rule, as I grew up, they had like a bad rap and a bad name.
Yeah.
And you know what? For the most part, when I was like younger, I did feel unsafe, like walking through Branksome or walking through Skerne Park, and I would be very like, oh God, like you have to keep out the way. But nowadays, I feel perfectly fine. I could walk through any council estate. I don't know whether things have changed in the town, whether it has just got safer, or whether I'm just bigger and not scared now.
Might be the cameras.
Yeah, it could be the cameras.
No, I agree, actually. I think it was a bit more wild back then, I think.
You think?
I think so. I remember going to the local shops as a kid and, like, you know, something could happen, you know. Whereas now, I agree, it's like there's no one at the local shops. No one hangs around outside them anymore. No. So
they're all at home on TikTok.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's yeah.
Do you think that's what it is? Do you think the internet has, like, made it safer, sort of thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
You reckon?
I do, actually, because everyone's occupied, aren't they? There's less people, gangs in the street. So
I couldn't speak. I know you still hear the horror stories of you know, Manchester and London and there's some, you know, some naughty things. But again, it's all relative, isn't it? Like, what was it like 20 years ago? Was it worse? I dare say it probably was.
I think some city centres like Manchester, and maybe they are worse. You know? Yeah.
What, worse than they were 20 years
possibly.
ago?
I mean, I walk around Manchester now and it's like zombie land, isn't it?
Really?
Have you been out there recently, Manchester or anything?
To be honest, it's the place, it's like it's escaped me. I've only ever been to the airport. Never actually been in Manchester.
You'd have to look at the crime statistics to get, like, you know, whether it's worse. But I think if sometimes when I go to Manchester or London now, you know, there's some fishy characters walking around the streets, like, and it's, I don't know, it doesn't seem safe, but...
I don't think it is at all. I went to the University of Salford, just on the outskirts of Manchester, and if you didn't walk tall, or if you didn't have, well, I'm quite a little lad, but if you didn't have big mates next to you, like, lots of people got mugged. Lots of my fellow students got, like, down back one alley. And
yeah, I think so. There's loads of alleys in Manchester, isn't there?
There's lots, and it was dodgy from my perspective.
But I don't know, you'd have to look at the crime statistics to know whether it's worse.
No.
I think it could be actually safer in theory, but...
Do you know, I think the only way to... Again, I don't know whether we're under an illusion, because we're remembering a time when we were young and vulnerable. You know what I mean? And we were scared of all the bigger boys.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
now we're not scared of the bigger boys, per se. I mean, we're probably still scared of the 13-year-olds, to be honest. But I think for us to give a true answer, it's not possible, because we'd have to be 13-year-olds now and experience a year in that to see if that was the same or not.
I think so, yeah. I think part of it's that, but I think part of it is, like, you know, I think, like we said earlier, people are in the house, on the computer, occupied. There's no gangs in the street. So it's a lot more safe, I think, in general. People are just, like, more tame, aren't they?
You're definitely right about Manchester there, Paul. The crime reporting on the year 22 to 2023, per 1,000 people, there was a reported 128.9 crimes. So that's the highest it's ever been.
Right. Where does it say that? Oh, yeah. This was the third highest rate. No, where does it say it's the highest it's ever been?
I may have just said that.
I think you just said that. I bet you...
Third highest.
You know, with me being one of the world's great thinkers, you know, I bet you that it's better now than it's ever been. You know, besides what you're getting told online or on the news, I think it's probably collectively across the world probably better now. than
Yeah, I
it
think
was.
so. Yeah,
That's my opinion. You know,
Yeah.
what do I know? You know,
I think so. I mean, like you say, it's you can think back to when you were a kid yourself, and I had loads of stories like walking to the local shops and people trying to pinch my bike and sort of, you know, my dad having to chase them off and that, you know.
Man,
So,
the bikes I went through when I was a kid, man, I went spare. Literally, we weren't posher now. You know what I mean? We were council estate, single mum sort of setup. Every Christmas I get a bike. By the next Christmas I needed another bike. A bike never lasted a year. Taken out the sheds, taken from outside the shop. Once just taken clean off me. That was an interesting one, and that was a kid. I was probably about 13, and it was the pure balls of him, right, that got me. Like, you just didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
We were up. Anyone from Darlington will know this area, the Wesser Pond.
Yeah.
You know where that is? We were up the Wesser Pond where the Brinkburn is. You know, doing what young kids do. I was on my my bicycle. You know what I mean? And this very confident, very forward-speaking, I'd say 9-year-old. This little 9-year-old. You know, can I have a go at your back, mate? You know, and I was like, oh, no, I didn't want him to. Oh, give us a go, mate, give us a go, mate. And I was like, oh, he's a bit rough. You know, I wasn't that way inclined. So I was like, oh, yeah, okay, pal. Yeah, no problem. And he just, not even fast, he just got on it and he just slowly started pedaling away. So I'm stood, like, waiting for him to, like, turn around and come back. But he just slowly ridden round the corner. So I was like, oh. So I ran round the corner and he was just slowly riding away. I was that much of a pussy. I could have caught up with him. I was that much of a pussy. I didn't dare. So I just let him take it.
yeah.
He just took my bike.
Walked by a 9-year-old.
Yeah, that was one of the many bikes. But,
Yeah. We got robbed once by people in, was it South Shields on the way to Wet and Wild?
Right.
Yeah, some little kids come up on the bike, motorbike it was.
Right.
So I couldn't catch them actually. They took the hats off us and sort of just went straight away on the motorbike. It was actually a hat I got from America as well.
Right.
So it was quite a unique thing. But yeah, I don't see that much nowadays. But like you say, I don't know whether that's because we're not in amongst it, we're not kids. But
No.
yeah.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we'll never know, will we?
No. Well, like you say, the crime statistics will tell you, but I think they're down generally. I do.
To be honest, Paul, I'll be perfectly honest. I don't want to be all like controversial and stuff. I know everybody's got their own beliefs, but as of, you know, let's say the carry on that happened 4 and 3 years ago, I do not listen to statistics I see on the television anymore, sir.
Yeah.
With the greatest of respect to those that do. But to me, it is all nonsense. I will make my own mind up. That's my opinion from now on.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about the internet nowadays. It's there's all sorts of statistics you can find to fit what you believe, sort of thing, and you've got to make your own mind up.
You do.
Yeah.
I think you do. I think that's something we can all say, whether we're full-on believers or non-believers or whatever, to what went on 4 years ago. I think we can all collectively agree. I think it's probably best that we all make our own mind up with what's in front of us.
Yeah,
I
I
think.
agree. Yeah, I agree. And you got the stuff nowadays with like Twitter and stuff like that. X, you
X.
know, like it's like a war, isn't it, on information? You've got a political sort of beliefs, and some of them try to control the information, and then some break away.
Yeah.
I don't know if you use X much. Do you go on it?
I don't know. I've got an account. I try to. You know.
Well, I think you should go on it. I think it's interesting.
I try, Paul. I try to go on, but I get lost and I don't know what I'm looking at. You know, when I go onto X, there's always like people I don't know, right? That are obviously important people because they have a lot of followers, and they're saying really, I'm sure, really relevant and quite intellectual type stuff. And I'm out of my depth. I don't know what that is. I mean, if there isn't, sort of a lion eating a zebra in Africa, or some boobs, I'm pretty much out of my depth.
There's plenty of that on Twitter.
Is there? Maybe I should get on.
Yeah, just look it up a few times, and the algorithm will pump it away every time.
Yeah,
but no, it is quite political Twitter, and it's quite divisive as well. So it's like the Wild West, really, and you see some crazy stuff. Like half of it should be banned.
Right.
That's why that Elon Musk's under a lot of pressure to censor stuff, because if you go on there, like, you do think like this should be censored.
What's your view on that? I mean, everyone's probably got one. On the free speech thing, should people be allowed to say whatever they want, no matter how bad it is? So that would include things like, religious sort of things and racism for some, for the most respect. Are we not a free world, and should we not be allowed to have an opinion?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, that in general for today's society. I think I think as long as you're not inciting violence, you know, as long as you're not saying go out there and hit somebody, or then I think you should be able to say what you want, and then you can be judged by society, can you? People can say, oh, you're a so and so for saying that, you know, and then you can get judged like that. I don't think it should be like criminalised or censored as such.
No.
But what they would say nowadays is what you're saying likely to cause sort of a negative effect?
Yeah.
And that's where these politicians try to gain control, because they would argue that what you're saying is likely to cause some...
Like hate speech.
Yeah,
Or something like
but
that.
then how would you measure that and say it is likely to cause it or it isn't? And who defines like whether it's causing it or not?
Yeah, that's it. I feel like, is there a panel of people sat in a room like making judgment on whether that is or is not that?
Well, there is, isn't there? That's a problem.
Oh, there really is, right.
I'm saying like the government said it, don't they? They say, right, that's defined as, you know, hate speech and protected categories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I see where they're coming from in some ways, and some of it's like, you could argue good for society, but I think, you know, cutting people's tongues off is not a good idea.
Yeah.
I think it leads to pent up sort of things.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, like, you know, it sort of leads to corruption as well. Like, you know, you had that whole thing there, like, you know, that carry on that's gone on in America with all them presidents, and, you know, Mr. Trump had to, did he have a gag order and stuff like that, the stuff he couldn't say, and like, I am not a big politician guy, but just what little I do understand, it sort of seems a bit unfair that he's not allowed to say certain stuff, but they are.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's dangerous actually what's going on nowadays with politics and censorship and stuff. But it's complicated as well. You know, it's we can't really decide what's going to happen in the future and what our opinions, how it would affect things. But I think people should be allowed to say what they want and then get judged by society. And if it is definitely instructing people to do harm to somebody, then obviously it should be stopped, and that could be classed as illegal.
What do you think about, again, very controversial topic, to understand if you don't want to answer it, but, you know, like recently we had all them riots and stuff in the UK, and like, of course, you know, that was disgraceful. That shouldn't have happened. No one should have been hurt. No one should have been rioting. So I hear what I'm saying. But it did sit with me wrong a little bit when some of the people who were saying stuff on social medias ended up getting 2-year sentences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't really sit right with me. It felt a bit harsh.
I don't think that's right. I think, again, it comes back to what we're saying about like censorship and stuff. I think the riots, I think, you know, the problem with riots is you get a load of people, yobs, who join in, and then they just cause ruckuses and smash everything up, and obviously that's wrong. But political protest should be allowed either way, no matter who it is and what they're saying. It should be allowed. And then when there's kind of like controversy and people do criminal damage and stuff, that should be stopped on either side of the political spectrum.
Of course, yeah, there's a line, and protests, I don't think they should just be allowed. I think they're very important.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, what's the difference between a protest and a strike? You know, aren't they married? Aren't they cousins? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're both useful.
And you get post office people and whatever, like doing strikes. Aren't they rioting? You know, like, where do we draw the line? Who makes the decision? I get it. Yeah, people shouldn't be being violent and hurtful and causing criminal damage or harm to others.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, and it is only my opinion, if they had it their way, they'd like to say whether you can or cannot protest. I actually think that's what they would like.
Well, I think that's what the recent riots, obviously they were bad, and, you know, you condemn them for what they were in the aspects that were criminal. But I think the government sort of have kind of used that as a premise to, you know, start to impose political kind of censorship on people in some ways. Like, obviously, it depends which side of the spectrum you sit on. People would... I mean, the problem is politics is getting that divided nowadays that if someone sits on the left, they would love to see people on the right being censored and vice versa. Yeah. So really, you know, it works both ways, and the tool of censorship is just dangerous for both, really, I think.
Yeah.
And I think the recent government, I think, you know, by sort of being aggressive on nipping any discussion in the bud, you know, they would argue that that's going to stop rioting and it's going to sort of stop, you know, rioting from building up. So they would say that's good. You know, we've saved people in the street from violence and stuff like that. And that's probably partly true. And then the other side would probably argue that they're suppressing certain political opinions. And then, you know, it's just a debate, isn't it? So,
yeah, no, I agree. It is. It's a debate. And I just think it's a bit convenient you know. I don't know. Look, everyone's got their own opinion, and I guess we're not here today to talk about politics.
Yeah,
are we?
that's right. Yeah,
You know?
because we'll get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So are we rolling, Southpaw?
We are rolling indeed.
We are rolling.
Does this chair go down, or is it?
It can go down. What do you reckon, Southpaw?
I think
Pull that
there's
off?
is it
about,
all right?
there's about 15 different buttons on there.
Is it all right though?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, you're at a good height there, mate.
If it feels too high, you can knock it down. Just fiddle on with it.
I've had a few feels, but like I can't find it.
There's so many different ones. It's one of these special chairs that has about 15 different buttons. So to find the right one, I think.
Yeah,
we-
no, it's all right.
To be honest, I can't find mine either. No. Well, I think you're perfect where you sat, you know.
Thank you.
So we are rolling, Southpaw, yes?
We are indeed.
So, well, guess what? This is People Like Us, and we're back. Before we start, we have got a very interesting guest today, but before we start, what we need people to do, Southpaw, is we need them to subscribe, don't we?
We do. The stats are slowly going down, but a lot of the viewers that are watching aren't subscribed. So anybody who can subscribe, please do, and that really helps our
What's
channel.
the current statistic on that, Southpaw?
I think we're down to 65% of our audience aren't subscribed.
Imagine that, Paul.
Lots of ears and new viewers, and it'd
Yeah.
be good if
Of
you...
every million people that watch this episode, of every million, 65% of them are not subscribed. Why would you not be subscribed?
well,
You know, if you're enjoying this content and you want to support us, subscribe.
yeah,
That's
please do.
Give and take, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's fair.
Yeah.
It's fair. You
It's
know what I
only
mean?
fair.
We're doing the content. All you got to do is subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything.
Just click
You know what I
that
mean?
button. Just click it.
But yeah, look, joking aside, thank you for watching. We do appreciate it. Today's guest is a man of what I've learned, many talents. He's a property developer. He's a music enthusiast and an ex-busker. He's featured on BBC Radio as well as magazines with headlines such as Busking to Buy to Let and Council Estate to Real Estate, which I love that. He's even appeared on Homes Under the Hammer. He's the mind behind Hanafin Estates in Darlington. We are grateful to be joined today by Mr. Paul Hanafin. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Pleasure to be here, and it's a great setup you've got.
Decent, isn't it?
Yeah, I seen it online. I thought it was amazing. You know, it was all the props and stuff and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
production. I thought it was amazing.
Would you like
so-
a sweetie?
I might take one of them later, actually.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good. Little sugar rush.
I saw them when I came in. Yeah,
They
Good
are
idea.
fresh. They
Yeah,
are fresh.
yeah.
We've done some before where they weren't fresh and we just didn't tell the guests. You know, they've been
Yeah.
sat there for a couple of weeks, but don't tell the guests.
They're fresh for you, Paul, but the only issue with them is Dan finds them quite Moorish, don't you?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
Well, doesn't everybody? There's no CBD ones in there, is there?
I know, yeah. No, there isn't. It might be something we need to look into.
Potentially.
You're a fan of CBD?
I've had it once before. It was for headaches, actually.
Really?
Yeah. I got sort of recommended it for headaches. I had a lot of migraines
Right.
after like COVID, actually.
Right.
It was a long COVID sort of thing. Could be the jab, who knows?
Could be.
But yeah, I had loads of headaches, migraines, and I started trying everything. And CBD oil was one of the things I tried.
How did it work?
It was, well, somebody
did
told me, you put it under your tongue. It's like an oil. It's legal, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It better be, because like...
No, it's legal.
no, so someone give me it. I think they sell it in like the
Holland and
shops.
Barrett?
Yeah. So I put it under my tongue and that, and then I was playing like, I don't play computer much, but I was playing like my kids' Mega Drive and stuff at night, and I just found myself like slumping into the chair a bit and be like, oh, sorry,
Yeah. Funnily enough, you should tell that story. It's no secret. A long time ago, I was a marijuana smoker. Like 10 years ago. I packed it in, obviously.
and you drank some days.
Yeah, I packed it in, and literally only 3 weeks ago, I was in Holland and Barrett for a different reason, getting something that I knew, and it was on the shelf, next to the checkout, this CBD
Yeah.
oil. So I just, spur of the moment buy. It's a great like positioning by Holland and Barrett. So I just picked it up, bought it, took it home. Well, I say I took it home because I've got an addictive like character.
Right.
So I found myself like walking through the town centre, and I couldn't wait to get to the CBD oil. So like I went down like a side road and I quickly unscrewed it. And obviously I didn't think about the one drop thing. So I just got a full, is it a pipette? Is that
Yeah,
what you call it?
that's
I
it,
got
yeah.
a full pipette and just, put it on my mouth. It was like a mouthful of fluid.
Wow, yeah.
It tasted terrible, obviously. Long story short, I found myself in a shop moments later, and it just, the sort of cape came over me, all of a sudden, everyone's looking at you, everybody knows you're high, and your mouth's getting dry, and you're like, fuck shit. Do you know, yeah, I had a proper bad do, long story short, so I had to go back to my car, I sat in my car for an hour and waited for the effects to wear
You must
off.
have had too much then, yeah.
I did. So, but since then, I've become a little bit better with it. But occasionally, I'll do a couple of chops before bed. It helps with sleep.
I think so. Yeah,
know
but
what I mean?
you were in Amsterdam, was it last week or the week before?
That was me.
Oh,
I
was
was,
you?
I was in
Yeah.
Amsterdam. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy who does all the messaging. But yeah, that was a hell of a trip. The women in windows, that's a real thing.
Yeah, you said you went with the boys. I just assumed it might have been
Yeah.
you guys. But the women in windows is strange. Like me and a mate went. He's left the army. He's retired basically, and he wanted to do something to sort of celebrate or commemorate his leaving or whatever. And we went over there, and like it's the first time I've been on a night, and them ladies in the windows, it's very strange. Like they all look the same for a start. You know, they've all got the same doctor, and then there's loads of like parents with kids walking them, like as if to say, "Oh, look, this is a tourist attraction. We're in the red light zone. Look, there's a woman." And it's like then a bloke will just shuffle in the door, and you're just thinking, this shouldn't be mixing this.
Really
this should be a
strange.
back street. You know, this shouldn't be like where kids are walking. You know, down.
Yeah, like an adult-only zone or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, it was strange. It was a very, very seedy place, and I don't think you've heard the stories, but I didn't believe them to be as true as they were, and that was quite the shock for me, actually.
Like you can't believe it, can you? Like
No, it's strange.
a European. Like, we're not talking the other side of the world here. We're talking Europe, a European major city where you can walk around, get high, and visit ladies in windows.
Yeah.
All while kids are walking up and down.
I went in the sweet shop, and I've got a picture of it because there was loads of sweets, like normal sweets. You know,
Right.
you would think a kid would go in with a parent and start buying stuff, and then right on the top was mushroom cookies, and then cannabis cookies, and it was like you know some foreign person could go in with the kids and just go, "Oh, do you want some cookies?" And I'd hate to see what happens.
Oh yeah, Jesus, I never thought of that.
There
Jesus.
probably has been some accidents
Yeah.
along the way.
And you can fall straight in the canal as well. There's like no barriers.
Yeah.
So you've got kids eating mushroom cookies and then a canal. That's not a good.
Over the years, how
combination.
many people do you think have fell in that canal? I bet it's hundreds.
Oh, hundreds, yeah.
Of course they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people fell in that nobody knows about?
That's
yeah.
that's a scary thought.
Dude, are those? I mean, side thing. Are those canals deep?
I'm not sure. I don't think that.
I don't know.
I don't think they're
I don't
dead
think
deep.
they'll be that deep because they're
2-3 meters, maybe. I don't know.
I bet the water's not clean. But it's rough.
It didn't look very clean.
Is it running water or is it just stagnant water?
It's from the sea, isn't it?
Yeah,
they're
is
just, they're just channeling it all into different. It's strange Amsterdam the set out because you know a normal river, you know like the river at Victoria Embankment in Darlington. That's like the only river in Darlington, isn't it? Like
Pretty much.
really, like the
In
Skern,
the town,
Skern
yeah.
River. But like you walk around town for hours and you just see one river,
Yeah.
and it's natural. You walk around Amsterdam and every street's got a new
Yeah.
canal. So your brain's like, what's going on? There's another one.
It's like a seedy Venice, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And after a few drinks, you're like, how are they all full? How did all the rivers, like
Yeah.
the different canal states, it's a strange place.
You think it's Groundhog Day every time you go into a new street and there's a new river.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends what you've been doing though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's what you've been doing, yeah.
yeah.
It does. Right, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do, Paul, if you don't mind. We want to learn a little bit about you. Because
Yeah, sure.
what little research we've done, and it is little, you've lived quite an interesting life so far.
Yeah, I don't know how to stick at one thing. That's probably true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That could be a superpower, though, you know?
I don't know whether it's good or bad. Sometimes I think specialising is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you stick at one thing for long enough, you get like the exponential sort of compounding effect. But for me, I do something for a bit, and I seem to like when I think I know what I'm doing with it, I kind of get bored and sort of I'm curious to learn something else. So I end up jumping ship and doing something else.
I think it could be a bit ADHD, maybe.
Possibly.
Or is it just genius, do you think?
Well, I am actually in the Mensa Society, which maybe explains a few things. I'm doing like a interview for them this month as well,
Right.
in the Mensa magazine. And I wonder whether it is a bit linked, you know, kind of like sort of, yeah, it may be slight ADHD or just ultra curiosity.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in Mensa, but I find it hard to concentrate. And I instead of saying that you're just really thick, Daniel, I tell myself I'm a genius. That's why.
Could be
I'm
true.
just godly, obviously. That's what it is, just different to everybody else. But joking aside, so, yeah, look, there's loads of stuff I want to touch on. Obviously, Hanafin Estates, we're going to get into that.
Yeah.
The bit, music as a general thing. There's a lot going on with your music thing. And also a Mensa. But if you don't mind, let's start from the beginning. That's what we like to do with everybody. So where did Paul Hanafin's story begin?
Yeah, so I grew up in Darlington, like yourself, on a council estate.
Yeah.
And it was my family. My mum initially lived on Skern Park, and she had about I think she had like 5 kids, like under 5, but they were like my older brothers and sisters. There were a few problems there, and then she met my dad, who actually ran away from home in Ireland when he was about 18 in the 60s to pursue like a music career in England. Right. They met in church actually, in Darlington, I think. And then I was born into Skern Park, Trent Place, in 1982. So I lived there for 2 years. Obviously, I was only, I can't remember it. And then they moved to Lascelles Park. Mm-hmm. Do you know where that is?
It's just around the corner.
Yeah, yeah. And it had a little green out the front. There was no road. So I think my dad picked that so I can play out when I was a kid. Mm. And I grew up there. Typical, Darlington council estate upbringing. My mum and dad bought the house, so it wasn't like all council. Mm. But yeah, I played football a lot. I was into football. Used to walk around the fields, all the parks, and have the typical, childhood in Darlington in the 90s.
I can imagine. Stolen motorbikes, stuff like that, yeah?
Yeah, it was all sorts. I mean, the field, they still do it now on that field over the cells. I go over there now, try to take my daughter, and there's like people on motorbikes with balaclavas on.
It's a colourful place.
Yeah, I'm a bit like, oh.
Yeah, look, you can't forget where you're from, can you?
No, that's why
it's interesting.
That's why I'm rocking the Burberry.
You were just saying you can take the boy out of the cells, but you can't take the cells out of the boy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, so pretty normal sort of start, council estate, mum and dad together. Did you say you went to Herworth School? Yeah.
So I went to St John's Primary in Darlington and then Herworth Secondary School. Yeah.
Oh. And school life, good? Normal?
Yeah, it was good.
Fine?
It was good. It was, it was good. 90s was a good time.
Oh, great.
There was all sorts of music out, music scenes. I went from everything to like the rave scenes, everyone was like into that around the estate when I was a kid. And then eventually moved on to like Oasis and, your indie and Britpop stuff. Mm. And that's what kind of I went into as I got older.
Mm. No, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day about this. And I believe, again, opinion-based, I believe the best point in time in history was the 1990s. Hear me out, right? Because some people could say, oh, no, it was the 60s, you know what I mean, or the 70s. 1950s in America was pretty good, Grease Lightning and stuff like that. Yeah. But hear me out. So the 90s, I think, was the pinnacle. And I think that was the pinnacle of time because there was enough technology for it not to be shit, but there was still too little technology for people to be going out and meeting each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think, I'm not saying the world's bad now at all, but I do think the things we love, this technology, I do think it's sort of negatively affecting society in some ways.
Yeah.
Of course, it's advanced us a lot. It's connected people. Business is easier to do and stuff like that. But my opinion is the 1990s was the best time ever.
I agree. Yeah. I don't know whether it's our age, because my son always says to me, "Oh, you're only saying that because you were young then." But I do think I tend to agree with what you're saying. I think there was like a combination of kind of technological advancement at that time, which was a bit more advanced in the 60s. And it was also like a second wind of the 60s as well, all the creative stuff. And I tend to think it's a lot to do with like being post-war as well. So obviously there was a world war, it would have been catastrophic for everybody. And then in the decades that followed that, including the 90s, because it was still kind of within 50 years or whatever, I think there was kind of like a sort of, almost like a hippie like sort of freedom rush of people feeling safe and being happy to be safe. I think post like 2010, when all the phones came out and technology swamped everyone, I think it's turned the other way a little bit. I think people are a little bit taken for granted, being safe and free and stuff. And I think the technology is just swamping everyone's attention span. So we're going into a bit of a strange time, I think, especially since 2020.
Definitely since 2020. But you are right in what you say. I hear stories from people who were of age, let's say, through the 90s. I was a child. I was born in 85. So we're talking 5 to 15. I wasn't actually old enough to get the full buzz of the 90s. But, people in the generation before me, they said to me, yeah, it was great. People did have a bit of money then. It wasn't rations, but people were still going out. People were still regularly going out and meeting each other in the town, and it was very social. And I mean, if you did a poll now on how many people meet face to face or meet on apps. I bet it's shocking compared to the 90s. I bet, well, everybody met pretty much face to face in the 90s. There wasn't an alternative.
That's right, yeah.
But now it's, and I don't, you know, I bet that's not doing too well for people.
I don't. I agree. I think in the 90s, you knocked on your mate's door, didn't you?
Yeah.
Or you called the number.
Yeah.
6 digits. You know.
Yeah.
That was it. Now I think one of the things I think the problem is nowadays is people don't have enough space in the mind to sort of absorb things. So you run your phone all the time. People go to the toilet and they're watching a YouTube video. You know, go to bed, earphones in. Back then, you know, there was a lot of space in your day, where not just space as in your routine, but in your head. So you sat in your house and there was nothing. It was the TV with 4 channels.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, and maybe a computer. But there was loads of times where you just had your own thoughts to sit with, you know, and that sort of, I think that gives people sophisticated emotions and stuff like that, because they'd build up sort of, you know, these ideas on stuff. Now, it's like a hamster wheel in your head. You look at one thing, there's a notification goes off, and it's just like that all the time.
Funny you should say that. I listened to a YouTube guy. I've got a bit of a fetish about him, actually. He's called Johnny Harris. His backstory is amazing backstory, but that's a story for a different day. But he makes really good YouTube videos. I mean, really high quality production. Like, I think he's the best. There's no one's doing as good as him, in my opinion.
I have to check him out. I haven't seen it.
That's definitely not Johnny Harris.
No.
But Johnny Harris, he did a video the other day, and it was entitled, "Why Am I Always Tired?"
Yeah.
Right? And he starts off, this is Johnny Harris, and he starts the video off by basically saying that this is one of the most Googled things. Why am I always tired? So that means that a lot of people in this world are Googling why am I always tired. And if you ask, 10 people, about 6 or 7 of them say, yeah, I'm always tired.
Yeah.
And he, again, he's a journalist, and this is what he came with. He said it's all about decisions. And he gives 3 examples. He says, he really, again, if you get a chance, anybody watch Johnny Harris. He does 3 examples. He does Stone Age Johnny Harris. He does Johnny Harris of 100 years and Johnny Harris of today's world. And he basically says it's all about decisions. Because not, what am I going to have for my tea? That is one of them. But people were having those decisions, I guess, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
But now, when we're looking at these screens, there is so many decisions happening. When you think it might not be a decision, but it's, do I like that? Do I not like that? Is that negative? Is that good? Oh, I like that. Oh, I'd love to buy that one day. I'd love to go there. And basically now, you think this thing in our head is the same brain, give or take, that Stone Age man had.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same thing. Yes, it might have got a bit bigger or whatever. It's a bit more evolved. But in comparison to the difference between how they lived and how we live, it's like a different planet. It's a different universe. And the brain hasn't developed enough. So that's why he reckons, by his YouTube video, why we're always tired. Because we've got too many decisions to make.
Yeah, that's possibly true, actually.
Well, I was sold.
Decision fatigue is a big thing, isn't it? Another guy, have you heard of Alan Watts?
I've heard the name.
He's somebody I watch on YouTube. He's not around now. He's an older guy. He was like a philosopher. And he talks about, everything from, religion to sort of business and everything. But one of the things he says is decisions, are hard, that especially on the mind. And he's got like certain sayings about people who, a job's easy, but then when you've got to make loads of decisions, it becomes a hard job. So physical labour really in some ways is easy on the mind.
Yeah.
But like you said, decisions, they can sort of weigh you down. And nowadays, I mean, as soon as you wake up, it's what decision, Facebook, YouTube, or, Amazon, which one do I open? And then all day long, you get notifications to decipher through. So I think that's probably one of the reasons. I think there's a few reasons, actually.
I think his statistic was something crazy, like today's man or woman makes 36,000 decisions in a day. Now, I'm sure a Stone Age man was probably making a few hundred, but it wasn't 36,000.
It's information overload, isn't it, I think?
You've heard the thing about Steve Jobs and I think the other fella, the guy that owns Facebook, what's he called again?
Mark Zuckerberg.
That's it. Didn't they do that thing about outfits where they always knew what they were wearing? Like, they wore the same thing all the time.
But one for each day or something.
Yeah, but it took out the decision of that. You know what I mean?
I've heard that with certain like high achieving people who've got like busy schedules and stuff, where they get chefs and drivers and all that. So they've just got to focus on their job. Comes back to like specialising, really. I think the more you can narrow down your activities to be sort of towards one goal, I think the more productive you get.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things people have to be mindful of and sort of navigate through nowadays, is obviously the distractions that you get through the phone and the internet. How are you supposed to order your life when you've just got so many things coming at you? Especially these like YouTube ads. I mean, I don't pay for the upgrade. I don't know if you do.
No.
But the adverts, the people just get in your face and go, "Oh, I'm here. I want 2 minutes of your time to do this," and you're just like, skip ad.
It's a mad world. Once upon a time, you wanted to see an advert, it would be you put the TV on, but now it's just, I mean, I don't know if you do, but I'm sitting on the toilet with my phone, just advert, just buy this, do this, feel like this, be jealous of this.
Have you ever been like lost in a rabbit hole on your phone where you sit down and you mean to do something, and the next thing you've just bought something on Amazon, you've just messaged someone on Facebook, and then you don't even know what you were meant to be doing in the first place?
Yeah, it's really, really controlling, isn't it? It really is controlling.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, the technology, I mean, I can go back and forth with it. It is great, of course. We wouldn't want to think that our world didn't have all this technology in it, but we definitely haven't. Well, for the most part, most people have not learned the proper management of it. I am one of those people.
I think so. And the strange thing is, like, you don't have to have it as well. So when we say we're afflicted by it and, like, it's bad for society, anybody could just not use it, but nobody would.
No.
I think balance is the right thing. I think, having a break from it, so it's got the right position in your life and takes up the right amount of time. But it's difficult to do, though, isn't it?
Very difficult. One tactic I've used recently, I mean, I'm still a doom scroller. I find myself all day. I'll pick my phone up and I'll be on social media before I've realised I've done it.
That's
and
right,
all of a sudden I'm like, shit, I've done it again. And I'm trying not to do it. One thing I have done, which has helped, is I've turned all my notifications off.
Yeah, I do.
So nobody, I never... The way I see it is, and I've give this analogy to somebody, I don't want this telling me when to look at it. Because when you hear that ping, that noise, it's saying, look at me, grab me, and it makes you do it because you want to know what it is. Yeah. And now, because I turn the notifications off, I make the decision. So, okay, I'm now going to check Instagram. I'm now going to check my WhatsApp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's helped a little bit, but I mean, again, it hasn't completely fixed it because I'm still doom scrolling,
I did that years ago through business, because you get business calls at night and stuff. So I turned off all notifications. I don't know if it's helped or not because I still have problems with the phone, going on it all the time. But I think, have you ever heard of a book called Atomic Habits before?
I've heard of it, yeah.
I
think I've got it.
Yeah.
I do have that book.
That's good for like developing habits, so if you want to break a habit regarding being on your phone or something, that's brilliant for techniques for doing that.
Oh no, I'm the power of habits.
Yeah, well, habits. Similar
thing.
One of my things for habits I find, like for going to the gym and stuff, is it's a bit contradictory to what other people think it is. So when you go to the gym and stuff, or want to build a habit, I try to make it easy to do it.
Right.
So don't go to the gym for the first day and try and do loads of stuff on the workout because you'll resent it and you'll think, oh, that was hard work. I was tired the next day. I think go to the gym, do a tiny little bit of a workout so you think, oh, that was easy. Then go home. Yeah. And then you'll think the next day, oh, that was easy yesterday. I'll do that again. And then you build it up. Before you know it, you're going to the gym every day. And then you get your results.
Weird you should say that because I actually have a good friend. He won't mind me saying his name. His name's Anth. But I've seen him do this time and time and time again where months and months and months he gets himself in a bit of a state, because he's eating too much, he's staying at home. And he'd be the first, he won't mind me saying that, he knows that. But then, after a few months, he will give himself a kick in the bum, and he'll hit the gym, but on day one, he is a Spartan warrior. Yeah. And he'll do 3 hours of this, that, and the other. And of course, what do you think that does? From sitting on the couch for 3 months to this Spartan warrior. What you've just said, Paul, is bang right. But it is hard, because you can imagine, to get to a point where you're like, I need to go to the gym, you've probably got lots of pent up, so you want to, fight it. But yeah,
I mean, each to their own. One size doesn't fit all. But the thing is, you said that he stops going to the gym for periods as well, didn't you? Well, that might explain it because he goes too hard and then he wants the opposite. Yeah. Things up like yin and a yang thing.
That's what happens. And then, after a few goes, he doesn't go anymore.
And people also think that if I was to say to somebody, just do a little bit of a workout at the gym, they mistake that for saying that I mean always do that. So no pain, no gain. It doesn't happen. I wouldn't say that. I would say when you're in the habit of going, then you increase it. So you end up really smashing it, but not first.
Yeah.
You get yourself tricked.
Direction's more important than speed. And that's,
Yeah.
Nicola said that on a recent podcast, and that resonated with me.
Repetition as well.
Repetition,
So
absolutely.
if you're in the habit of going to the gym, then obviously you can increase it after you're in the habit. But if you try and like smash it too hard too soon, you'll start resenting the gym and saying like, I don't want to go back there. You won't say that consciously. It'll be your subconscious saying, oh, don't go back there. It's a nightmare.
Like, bad thing, that hurts, don't like that.
Yeah.
But you are right. As opposed to trying to, you know, if you are wanting to get into exercise, I think what you've just said is bang right. I think don't worry about getting in shape first. That'll come later. Let's just build a habit first.
That's right, yeah.
You know, even if you end up walking through a gym door and walk on a treadmill for 10 minutes, just make that your habit. So that's just like brushing your teeth. It's something you do every day.
Exactly.
Once that is to a point where you don't feel right unless you've done it, okay, you've then built a habit. So let's turn that into 20 minutes. Let's turn that into 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, building habits. It's funny, isn't it? Like we try and get out of some habits, but try and build other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's there is like a sort of two-way conversation going on sometimes in your own head, isn't it? I'm not schizophrenic, by the way, but you know, you've got like your intentions and what you know you should do.
Yeah.
Like I should go to the gym, I should keep fit, and then you've got kind of you know, them subconscious things like it's hard, I'm tired when I go, you know, and I think that is the right way to do it, the habit, and then increase later.
Yeah.
But the gym is an analogy, but really it's for anything in life, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
People use the gym because it's just easy to think of, but it applies to anything.
To anything.
Yeah, the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, same thing. And again, just on the gym thing, you don't have to go into a gym. You can do it in your living room now.
Yeah,
World we
Joe
live
Wicks.
in. YouTube's free, you know.
Who was that guy in COVID? Was Joe Wicks or someone?
Joe Wicks, everyone
Yeah.
loves the Joe
Yeah.
Wicks
Oh,
things.
I was jumping up and down doing the couch.
I was doing them with my mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was an animal. It was
Is
brilliant.
your mum putting you to shame?
She was, yeah. It was crazy.
They were hard workouts then, by the way.
They
I don't
were
know why,
tough.
but
Yeah. Hey, Joe Wicks did good in COVID, didn't he?
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Did like.
He just had it all set, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He did. No, big respect to Joe Wicks, and he's a good looking lad as well. Stop. Hold up. Before we carry on, just a quick word from our sponsor. Do you have a business? Thinking about starting one? Dash, the bespoke web design and branding experts. When you have a business that needs a professional online presence, when your current website is starting to look a little outdated and tired, when you have an idea and want to see it brought to life online, that's where Dash can help. Dash create bespoke websites built around your business and its requirements, from exceptional e-commerce stores to sell your products online, to beautiful brochures showcasing who you are and what you do. The team at Dash will become an extension of your business. You'll be assigned a dedicated team who will help guide and advise from the initial design brief all the way to the website launch. Not only that, Dash provide full aftercare to carry out any changes, alterations or updates quickly and efficiently. It's like having your very own personal web development team 365 days a year. Dash understands that in today's world, the right online image, exposure and representation is the key to success. Book in a free, no obligation consultation with one of their experts today to see how Dash can make your online vision an online reality. Just visit www.dashmedia.co.uk or search Dash Media on Google to find out more. Dash, the bespoke website and branding experts. Yeah, brilliant. So listen, what we're going to do now is I want to ask you, right? I had this phrase said to me, right, by Southpaw. Medical chemistry to busking.
Yeah, that is a strange one, isn't it? Yeah.
I've never. I bet in history that's never been said. You
Probably
could be
not.
the first human to have that tag.
Again, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
So tell us about this. I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, you left school and then you went to pursue medical chemistry.
Yeah,
What is medical chemistry?
medicinal chemistry. So it's chemistry with some specialisms in medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
Chemistry, like as
Yeah.
if a chemist in the doctors.
Yeah, no, that's a pharmacist, isn't it? Like,
Oh,
so chemistry was actually like doing the experiments to make stuff.
right.
So like you'd make aspirin or something, or LSD or something. No, but you make sort of things.
Right.
So we'd spend a lot of the time in the lab, sort of making chemicals. Really,
Where did you study this?
Newcastle University. Yeah. So I did that because, my dad was dyslexic and he struggled in school,
Right.
but his family was academic.
Okay.
So I think he was always kind of mindful that, he wanted to sort of, he come from a family that was academic and then he struggled with it. So he kind of pushed me to sort of treat education as important. So, which is a good thing generally. It's a good thing on average, let's say,
Absolutely.
to do that. I didn't actually try that hard in school generally until the exams.
Right.
So I was quite, I wasn't a prefect. I was just one of the lads type of thing. And then when the exams came around, my dad sort of kicked in and he said, right, we're going to revise and, do well at these exams. And I got sort of, A stars in science, basically.
Did you?
Yeah, I got A's in other stuff and, but science was the one I always excelled in.
Right.
So I did it at college, the QE sixth form college.
Right.
And then I did specifically well at chemistry.
Right.
So I did it at university.
So you sort of followed the scent sort of thing.
But it wasn't a good instinct really because, someone said to me when I went into college, when I went in for the open day, I said, what should I do for A-levels? And they said, do what you enjoy. So I wrote down like music, psychology and PE.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I'll enjoy them. And then when I went to enroll, one of the tutors said, oh, you've got A stars in science. You shouldn't be doing that. You can do much better by doing like chemistry and biology and maths. So I was just a young, impressionable kid. I didn't have a sort of a love for education. I was just doing it because I thought it was right.
Yeah.
So I just went, I'll do them.
Right.
And I just did them.
That's just how it happened. Sort of fell into it, really.
I just took their advice.
Yeah.
And then I did chemistry at university. I got a first class degree in university for medicinal chemistry. And then I didn't use it. So I just left university and I did music.
When you were doing, how do you say it, medicinal?
Medicinal chemistry.
Medicinal chemistry. You must have had an idea of where you were going to go. What was the plan?
You'd think so. It was just achievement, like...
Just to get that degree?
Yeah, and also, like, my dad was saying it's like a backup plan, it's a good thing to have behind you sort of thing, which is, again, generally
100%.
good on average.
100%.
So I just saw it as a challenge. I want to do the best I can at this degree to get it, and then I can just move on from there. But what I did when I got it, I went back to what I enjoyed. So that was good advice initially, what that person said about, do what you enjoy, because that's where you're going to gravitate towards eventually. So I ended up basically going to busking because I had no formal education in music. I'd done it in science. So I just started from the bottom practically in music, and I started going to pubs and sort of playing in the pub.
So somewhere along this line, Paul, sorry to interrupt, school, QE, get that, college, university, get that. Somewhere along this line, this guitar playing.
Yeah.
At what point in life did that begin?
Oh, yeah. So that was always going alongside it. So,
Right.
like I said earlier, my dad came from Ireland to be in a band in the 60s.
Of course, right, I get it.
So there's some good stories about that, but that's his story. But
We'll have to have him on one day.
He sort of ran away from home and sort of, he just like hitchhiked around England and lived in people's flats and communes and stuff like that. So that was always there for me, the music, and it still is now. And I was playing guitar in school. I had a band in school,
Right.
just local lads, and we used to play on dinner times in Hoe of School. And it was great. And so that was alongside the university stuff.
What was your band name?
The Green.
The Green.
Yeah.
Love that. The Green.
Because where we lived, it was a green, and that's where I used to play and stuff.
Did all the band members live around the Green?
No. So I was a bit self-indulgent there.
Right.
But,
so it was your band?
Well, I was a songwriter.
Right.
So I was like the Noel Gallagher.
Right, yeah, of course.
But yeah, so, basically I went straight into music after university, and I was just doing right from the bottom, going into pubs, playing to everybody who was drunk, falling all over me and, getting 40 quid a night at first.
Right.
And then, like I say, occasionally just busking in York and Whitby and stuff like that.
Right.
Which I actually enjoyed, the busking.
Really?
Yeah, it was just, you're just playing in the street and there's a certain freedom about it. Little kids with parents walking past and stopping and like looking at you in amazement and stuff. So I really enjoyed it.
How did obviously there was day one of this, right? So the day you decided, right, stuff this medical stuff, right, stuff this medicinal chemistry stuff, I'm going to play music for money, right? What was the first step? What was the first thing you did?
Yeah, so there was an actual point where that happened. I had a job in science, so I got a job with my degree.
Right.
I didn't just completely stop after the degree. I got a job, and it was at Lundbeck Pharmaceuticals in Teesside, making antidepressants.
Right.
And you walk around this factory, and there was like, bits of powder all over the place flying over, these antidepressant drugs.
Right.
So everyone was quite happy, the staff. The HR department was in good nick. And basically, I didn't like work. Like, that's probably the wrong phrase, because I actually work hard at what I love to do. But I didn't like structure of work. Like someone saying, you have to go there from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock,
right,
and you have to do what we tell you. So I've always been a bit of a kind of freedom fighter in that respect, like for myself. As soon as I was put in that routine, I was just sat there just thinking like, there's more to life than being told what to do all day and stuff. And actually I was always on MySpace, promoting my music. And the person who used to sit in the office with me, I think she caught me a few times, and she was the opposite. She was happy doing a job, and for her life and stuff, which is fine. Everyone's different. But she absolutely hated what I was doing, because I was just sat there all day, like on MySpace, like pushing my music and stuff. So anyway, after 6 months of that job, I just left. I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I just started going into pubs.
Right.
And yeah, just started from the bottom. And I was living at home, so I didn't have like a lot of obligations. And my dad was very supportive of it.
Was he? Well,
Yeah.
of course, actually, yeah, with his musical background, I can imagine.
Yeah, so after that, we used to gig around Darlington and practically the UK. Me and my dad used to come and play as well.
Love that.
So everyone in Darlow will sort of see me back in the day, and the pubs like the Tap and Spile, the Turk said. I even played Route 66 every Tuesday, and eventually Harvey's. I used to play there on a Friday night.
On a Friday night?
Yeah.
What kind of music are you playing, Paul?
I'd evolved by that stage to be like quite a crowd pleaser. This was like 5 years in or something. So I'd play whatever the crowd needed. So Harvey's, I know the bloke that owns it, he's a really good guy, and he wanted me to play in there on a Friday night, 10 till 12. It was
Really?
Like, yeah.
That just seems like clubland time.
Yeah, well, it was. I used to play club songs. I used to play
What?
Shooting Star, Rush Hour, Children of the Night.
Wow.
On the guitar.
Electric guitar?
No, just acoustic.
Well, I can't imagine that.
That wasn't my main thing, but I used to do it in there.
Wow.
Because basically about 11:30 in Harvey's, everyone would be sort of starting to get a bit like, "Ugh," and they'd look, and I'd be stood there with the guitar, and I'd think, I can't play like Bob Dylan here.
No.
So I just used to like neck a tequila and just start smashing like Children of the Night out, and then all of a sudden I would just be like, yeah, and then start jumping around in that.
I've never heard Children of the Night acoustic.
Well, Jerry Cinnamon does stuff like that. Like
I love Jerry Cinnamon.
he does like, what does he do? Discoland.
Does he?
I used to play that one as well before him.
You were there first?
Yeah.
Maybe he heard you. Yeah.
Who knows? But yeah, then I played in Magaluf as well.
I've read that,
During that period of my life. I was just gigging every night,
Right.
and then lying in on a day, watching Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
I've seen loads of Brian Cox, like, that guy. I just used to wake up in the day and just be chilling, and like he'd be on telly all the time, talking about space and all that. And then
You just start to become nocturnal, do you?
maybe that was the science in me, sort of looking for that during the day, like, look for the science stuff. But no, that was probably arguably the best time of my life, possibly. I was just basically a musician, just playing gigs on a night, chilling during the day, build up energy, go again.
You know what, if you don't mind me saying, obviously we've never met until today, but the rule of thumb is, or I always thought, it was you're either an academic or a creative.
Yeah.
You seem to be a combination of the two. You seem to be like a creative academic. Like at one point you were A-star in first degree, blah, blah, blah. But then on the same note, you've got this, I don't want to be structured. I want to be free. I want to do my own thing. It's like, It is like a mesh of two things.
I think so, actually. It's interesting you observe that. When I finished the chemistry stuff and went to music, I was actually on the dole, because, I didn't make a living in music at first. I was basically busking, and sometimes for free, most of the time for free.
Yeah.
So I'd go to open mic nights in Darlington, like Aruba and even folk clubs, and I would just play for free as long as they wanted me to play. And I was on the dole about that time, and I went into it. They used to put you in courses and stuff, in the dole. I mean, I'd just got a first-class chemistry degree where I shook hands with this bloke in a hat who said, "What are you doing next? You must be on the big things." And I just went. And then I ended up busking on the dole about 6 months later.
That's mental.
It was by choice. Like I wasn't on the door like sort of because I couldn't find work. It was more like I don't want to do that, so I want to pursue music. So eventually I started getting paid for music and made a decent living from it. But around about that time, you know, I was in these courses that the Dole used to put you on to try and get you back into work. And my point is, one of the people who ran that course said to me, like, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a musician. Well, I sort of was a musician, but not getting paid. And he sort of, they're a bit nasty in them courses because they think you're a lazy lout and you want you to get back to work.
Yeah.
And he sort of said to me, you know, you don't fit the type of a creative expressive, you know, basically. And I always thought, you know, I want to prove you wrong sort of thing. But you just said that, so it's...
Oh, no,
yeah,
I mean...
maybe it is like a mix.
Yeah, no, I mean, immediately, just if you weren't one of them expressive, free, like creative type people, everything you've just told me wouldn't have been the case. You would have stuck to structure. You certainly wouldn't have had that flair to go off and busk and shit like that, you know? So, absolutely. Where's busking? Like, where's the best place to busk? Where do you get the most cash?
So it's like places that are popular with tourists, really. York is, I know York's a city, but Whitby, places like that, you know, where people are sort of enjoying themselves and having a day out sort of thing. I did try London, but I got like kicked out because you have to have a license.
Yeah.
So I was like rocking up and just playing, and people were coming over and saying, you know, you can't do that. But yeah, I think Whitby was the best one I did.
Yeah.
Because it's a seaside town and stuff. It was just nice, yeah. It was nice.
What's, like, in the world of busking, right? Remember back, what's like a good day's work? Like, what were you collecting?
I mean, I didn't do it like all the time, you know. I did it as a little bit of a side thing. I mean, I don't think you make that much, to be honest. 100, 200 quid. I mean, if you're in the right place, though, where you're licensed, maybe they will make a lot. Maybe they'll make sort of 1,000 or more, but it does depend. But it's not, I don't think you get rich of it.
No.
I don't think you can get rich, but I've got some family friends, little shout to Spilt Milk, they're in a band, and they, in their early days, used to do a lot of busking, similar to yourself, and they had a license, and there's 3 of them, the triplets, and that's their sort of USP.
Yeah, that's good then.
And some days they were turning over like 600 quid. If they were in the right spot, they said Whitby was fantastic for busking. And I was thinking, that's really good money, you know, to go and do something you love.
Yeah, it isn't bad. I mean, I ended up making a decent living out of music in terms of like compared with average wage and stuff. And I think you do love it as well, but it doesn't have a pension plan, or if you're sick, you don't get paid. So that was why I ended up stopping it in the end, because I had kids and I had like responsibilities. So I thought, you know, basically people undervalue like the pension and sick pay. You know, when you don't have that, it's like a massive chunk of your of income that's worse off.
Obviously, now I've been self-employed. You don't get sick pay, do you?
No, that's it, yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how that works. It just, for me, I'm self-employed, and if I'm off, I'm not getting paid, basically.
Yeah, when I used to sing, like I used to do in the pubs and stuff, if I had a cold or something like that, it was a total nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
Like I used to be like, oh, I'm not going to earn nothing this week, you know, unless I just go.
Yeah.
And I used to go. I used to just like gargle a lot of like cayenne pepper and all this stuff and honey. And I used to just sit in this pub and like, I'd be like, I'm totally full of cold and that. And I'd start singing and think this is going to be a nightmare. And I'd just sort of work my way through. And weirdly enough, it always went all right.
Get one of them Rod Stewart raspy voices.
Well, yeah.
Sound like Bryan Adams or something.
Yeah. I never quite had that, but yeah, it always worked out. It's weird.
Bro, I'm saying, look, Paul, I've got a friend of a friend of a friend who last night told, you know, when I told them that you were coming on, sent me a video of you singing. And,
really?
Yeah. I don't know where it was. I don't know what the thing was.
Like, there was the lights and like up lights and it was like a wedding. Yeah.
My brain says it looked blue.
Yeah, it was a wedding. So I think that was the DJ that took that video.
Right.
And he uploaded it onto YouTube.
Right, I get you.
And I was playing, so it was the RA Club in Darlington.
Right.
There was a lot of people. I used to play there regularly. And it was, somebody used to go in there. I think it was the owner's son, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It was his wedding.
Right, I get you. You're a good singer. You know, I don't mind saying that. You're a very good singer.
Yeah, I actually like got into music primarily for like songwriting. Actually, that was my initial goal, was to write songs for a living, and I still do a bit of that. I've recorded one last year. I went to a songwriting camp, so I'm still doing it as a hobby.
Right.
But I think, you know, I've still got the songs, so I'm still going to pursue them. But I think another reason I was interested in that was the idea that you write a song and then it exists and then you can get sort of royalties from it.
Yeah, that's if you can get one that catches,
Well, yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah, no, I mean, there's,
But I wasn't just thinking of it for financial reasons, but that was part of the thinking, part of the attraction.
Thing is, though, I know very little about music other than being a fan of it, but hasn't the music industry changed now? And like,
Yeah.
I hear, again, I know nothing, but I hear it's harder to make a lot of money now in music than it did when it used to be.
Definitely, yeah.
You've been a kid of the 90s, and obviously, I imagine, without me asking, Noel Gallagher was one of your inspirations.
Yeah.
I imagine, as it probably was for most kids from that era. But what somebody like that band could make in 1996, 98, is a completely different world to now.
Yeah. That's why I got out of music, because I realised it was really difficult to make any money out of it, really. It was a bit like a lottery win, because there's so many people who want to do it, and there's only one like sort of cabal of record companies. They only need one person, really, because they can digitise the music. Like Ed Sheeran's basically their guy now, isn't it? It's like, we only need Ed Sheeran, that's it. So I basically figured that out and thought, I'm probably wasting my time doing this. Even though I hated like stopping it, I just thought I have to stop it. But then I've sort of still searched for the same type of thing in another career. So I'm doing property. And the similarities are obviously, the royalty sort of thing. Obviously the residual income from property when you own property is similar. Owning a property and then renting it out is a bit like writing a song and letting it go, sort of thing.
I guess it is.
In a way.
I guess it is.
It's not creative, though.
No, it's not as creative, but I get your analogy. I get it.
And again, it comes back to me probably trying to search for some sort of financial freedom. And being a sort of, a freedom fighter in that respect for my own life, where I don't want someone telling me, you're going to do that, I'm your boss, and you're going to do that. That's maybe just a personal quirk. But I do think for anyone else out there as well, I think you've got to try and find something that you want to do. And if someone's doing a job that they don't want to do, but they're being made to believe that they should do it or they have to do it, I think people, I don't know, the human spirit's got more to it than that. I think that's restricting people and basically taming them and sort of caging them and stuff.
Totally. So, as somebody who's obviously pivoted career and as somebody, as you've just pointed out, didn't feel very comfortable with somebody telling you what you can and can't do and when and where you can go, who then became his own boss. Yeah. What advice, I guess that is two questions, but what advice, as somebody who's done it, what advice would you give somebody that is, say, getting told what to do by a boss and doesn't want to be, or is in one career and wants to pivot? Yeah, it's a difficult piece of advice to give, because a lot of people would interpret their life as being like that when maybe it isn't. So you've got to be certain of who you are and what you want. But then I think the best piece of advice is go for it. You can't just, you've got to make a decision, don't you? So you're in the mindset of go for it. Yeah. I mean, I've changed jobs all the time, and, it's just part of me. So I think if someone's not happy with their life and stuff, they've got to make a call. But just staying somewhere where they don't want to be is a bad thing, I think. 100%. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Look, if you hate what you're doing and you hate your position, then like failing's not as bad as that. You know what I mean? You have to try, don't you? Yeah, and I think making a start's a good thing, even just making a start in your mind. But I think one of the things that helped me pivot was YouTube, actually. Right. We're talking about like the modern sort of technology, but I was actually in a teaching job at the time, teaching music. Okay. So I was teaching kids guitar. This is where I evolved to in the music. And then what happened there was I didn't really like that, because I had to go into a school and give 30 kids a ukulele and stand there going, oh, everybody hit this string. And the kids were just like, going, I was just like, what am I doing here? So you were a full-time music teacher? Well, at one point, yeah. Oh, right. Yeah, for the council. And I was gigging on a night. Right. And I just felt trapped in that, because I had kids at the time and I felt like I had to do it. So I started looking on YouTube for things like how to change job and what if I don't like my job, and I found stuff. I came across a video from Robert Kiyosaki. He's a guy who wrote a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I know him. And basically he had a flow chart and and he was writing stuff down. And he just said, like, you don't have to be an employee. There's 4 different types of earning an income. And I mean, obviously that sounds obvious, but coming from a
a council estate working class background, I was like mind blown. I was like, but I thought that you have to be an employee, then you got to work your way up to make money. And it just blew my mind. I was just like, no, you don't. You know, you could start a business, you could employ other people, you can invest. And then I got into that in a big way, and that sort of caused me to change job. And I had a 10-year plan to leave my teaching job. I sat down one day, you know, I was probably, I don't know if I was clinically depressed, but I was, you know, I think I was going to counselling and stuff. I wasn't right. And I had a 10-year plan to leave my job.
Right.
And in about a year, I left. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I never looked back. But the key thing that I picked up from that was Robert Kiyosaki just said, invest in stuff that brings in income.
Such as?
So I was doing gigs at the time. So I started buying a load of gear to hire out at the wedding. So I'd go to a wedding and I'd hire stuff out. Like, at first it was like lights, then it was like photo booths. And then within like a year, I was like doing wedding gigs, and I was taking a photo booth with me. My wife was doing that. I was taking up lights. I was taking big prop lights. And I was doing the music myself, and we were getting like, I don't know, 1,300 quid just for one night.
It's not a bad night's work, is it?
So, and then I could leave the teaching job, you know, because I was like, this is great. And that was a company, Goof Booth, that I formed. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I haven't. I'm not big on socials. But
it's a photo booth company. So it's goofbooth.co.uk. I've just sold it actually, so I don't have anything to do with that business, but that was where that came from. And after a few years, I just realised that, you know, that this stuff I was buying was deteriorating.
Right.
So I was buying these props and stuff, and then they were, you know, becoming worthless. So I got into property, and Robert Kiyosaki runs like he used to license like a course in the UK. And I did that, and that got me into property, and I've never looked back on that one.
And Hanafin Estates was born?
Yeah.
Is that how it began?
Yeah.
So tell us what, a good sort of leeway, I mean, transition into that. So tell us what Hanafin Estates is.
So, again, a bit of my, whatever it is that I've got where I lose attention span or whatever, and it's loads of things, actually. We buy properties, rent them out ourselves.
Right.
We work with investors, so we get basically investor funds and then get them a return. And then we obviously do all the groundwork and stuff like that. But recently, you know, it's actually evolved into a high street estate agency. So that's another arm to it, which is totally different to the other stuff. And it's not linked actually, but it's just a different kind of trading sort of vehicle, if you like. So now it's in Duke Street in Darlington. And we just basically sell houses for people and, you know, provide a service on that front as well. So, yeah, there's a lot going on in it, but it's basically property and all things property, from renting properties out to getting landlords and investors' returns to just selling people's properties.
Right. So you are actually an estate agent as well.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that up until now. I thought you were just a property investor. Well, not just, you know what I mean? It's an amazing thing to do. But I thought that was pretty much what you were doing, buying and selling. Yeah. But there's more to it.
That was for the last 9 years, I think. And then only in April this year,
right,
we actually moved into the estate agency business.
Yeah, it's on Duke Street, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the Tesla guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you know?
With a logo on.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
How do you find Teslas?
Oh, I love them.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'd never been in one until a few weeks ago. I was both impressed, but at the same time turned off. Maybe I'm just caveman. I like to hear the rum rum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was with a young lad who drives like a lunatic, so I was incredibly impressed with the, do you know, like Jesus, and no sound whatsoever. But it just freaked me out. I was like, where's the zum zum?
Yeah, I think that's quite a common thing with Teslas. I mean, a lot of people like gearheads type of don't like it because there's no sound. But yeah, I can see that. But they're nice to drive. You know, when you sort of just put your foot down, it just goes where you want it to go.
It's gone.
And you just basically take anyone over any time.
Yeah.
I've made a few mistakes in it with it being branded, mind.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I should probably
number pasted on
keep
it.
quiet here, like. But yeah, no, I took someone over once and he went straight away. I pinged on the email, I've just seen your car go past me. I'm a retired policeman. I was like,
oh, no.
I don't think I was speeding, like, but
no, just a bit.
He was
brisk.
just going too slow.
That's what it was. Just brisk. That's all. No,
Yeah,
you're
that was
right. Yeah,
bad.
if you're whacking a big logo and a phone number and or a website
Yeah.
address on this, yeah,
So now I'm just like, I'm whiter than white in the car.
yeah, good as gold.
Someone tried to get me the other day. We had like a McDonald's. I don't eat McDonald's all the time, but in a busy day sometimes, and we only got a coffee. And because, no, it was a tea. And because they've got the tea bags and all that, I didn't want to put the tea bag in the Tesla somewhere because it would wet stuff.
Yeah.
So I put the bag outside with the tea bag in while we were sort of eating it and stuff. And somebody in a local office took a photo and sent an email to us saying, basically off the branding, saying, "This is disgraceful, you lazy buggers. The bin's only 5 yards away. Why do you leave the thing there?" I said, "Have you looked now? Because it's gone, because we took it back in and that." I said, "I want to know who your company is because I'm going to like have a word with them about your conduct here and stuff."
No
But yeah,
way.
so I'm learning.
Yeah, that logo is both doing a lot for you, but also causing you some problems.
Yeah, I think it's helping on in general
Yeah.
because
People are
you
seeing
can't
it.
sort of flip the bird at people and stuff. That
No. Oh yeah, I suppose it's making you a better human, isn't
yeah,
it? Being a bit
yeah,
more bit more aware of what you're doing.
Do you do the whole cruise control thing where you're on a motorway and you just let it drive itself? Do you do that?
It's not got full self-driving mine,
Right.
But we do use the lane assist and all that stuff.
Right.
But I've got another car that's got that, and it's the other one's probably better at that.
Okay.
And that one doesn't have no brands.
No.
So
It's
you
flying.
might see me do. You might see me doing that now and again.
Is
but-
that also a Tesla or?
No, that's a Volvo. That one.
Right.
But yeah, I do that. Well, again, I don't take my hands off the wheel.
It's weird,
you know,
that.
But you can sit basically and go down the motorway and sort of, it does beep, beep, beep all the time if you take your hands off because it's got sensors. But it is amazing, like.
I mean, they're amazing bits of kit. Maybe as I mature and become a proper human, I'll come round to them a bit more. I am very impressed by them, but
Yeah, have you seen them do the dances and stuff where the lights go on and stuff?
yeah, Ben, my friend, he did it. I didn't know. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It looks like a transformer.
Yeah.
Like Ben pressed this thing, and all of a sudden things are going up and down. It's what they call, not ears, what they call mirrors are moving,
Yeah.
the boots going up and down, lights are flashing, playing music. Sounds like like Darth Vader music, like
Yeah.
duh. It's crazy.
I love it. I think one testament I've got for it is, whenever we go out, me and my wife, we say, "Which car are you taking?" And it's always like, "I want to take the Tesla."
Right.
So
So that's
yeah,
the preferred one. That's what you're leaning to.
they're easier to use. You don't need a key. So you just walk out and just walk in the car, drive off.
Yeah.
And the music comes on straight away and it's easy to use. It's got voice command and stuff.
It's amazing what he's done. Like Elon, like he's like a super baddie, isn't he? Like he's just got he got so much money, he doesn't know what to do, and this is the result of a complete genius, an alien almost. That's his brainchild. You think what he's done for electric cars, because they were there, but not like they are now.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much been him. Other people have jumped on, but he was the one that really
He's
got
an
it moving.
innovator, isn't he? In some ways, well, a lot of the stuff he's doing is not necessarily new, but he's good at sort of taking it to the next level. He does sleep in the office, he says, doesn't he?
That's
So
what they say.
I mean, if you slept in the office, you'd probably achieve quite a lot.
Yeah, I guess you would. Yeah.
But,
what came first? Was it Elon's cars or the Priuses? What came first?
I think the Priuses came first, but then, as you say, the Teslas just took it to a completely different level.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure with them Teslas as well, there's so many little hidden features that you will never even figure out,
Yeah.
Paul. And
Yeah.
that was what he wanted. He wanted you to constantly be learning about the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing bits of kit. But on the sort of wave of a bit of advice. So when you started Hanafin Estates, obviously as I've read, you started off with out, right? Yeah, absolutely nothing. pretty
Yeah,
much.
so we didn't have any anything, no family wealth. It was more or less like student debt I had at the time. So like maybe minus 11,000 or something in student debt. As soon as I started doing the investing thing, I built up a little bit of money from the photo booth stuff. And then I started with property with that. But a lot of the stuff I do in property is quite sort of creative in some ways. So any property investor will tell you, you don't sort of use your own money anyway because you run out. So if you have a bit of money, you'll buy a house, you stop. So how can you build a business on that? You can't. So you have to find a way of raising money. I didn't start with my own money as such. I just learned techniques like that and then built up from there.
Yeah, what were the initial, I imagine there was many. What were some challenges you remember apart from being skinned? What was other challenges? Did you get a lot of pushback from competitors? Was it
In property, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, there was loads of challenges. Like, it has been quite hard.
Right.
You know, it's probably given me a couple of mini nervous breakdowns. But I think anyone in any business, if you've got to go through the rough times really to get somewhere. But particular challenges, I mean, you know, it was a bit of a strange thing going from music to property. You know, everybody who knew me from music, including my own family, was sort of a bit like, you know, what are you doing? You know, like you're turning your back on your sort of livelihood and your
dream,
your career and stuff. And so there was that personally. And then in property, there's all sorts of challenges. Like the first house I ever flipped in Louisa Street in Darlington.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I had a bridging loan on it. So I had loads of like, you'd class as risk, if you know what I mean. It was the first one I ever did. So I was a little bit like hoping it would go well. Didn't really know. Somebody got murdered a couple of doors down when I was trying to sell it.
Jesus Christ.
So I was thinking, is that going to affect the sales market? You know, the neighbour came out and looked at the board. He went, "Oh, what are you selling that for?" I went, like 75 grand. He said, "Oh, you'll never get that for it, mate," and all that. So I was like, "Oh no," you know, testing my faith. You know what I mean? But anyway, we sold it, and I got above asking price for it. So you know, that builds confidence. You know what I mean? But I had to come through that and sort of keep the faith, if you like.
Yeah. No, it's pretty impressive. Like anyone like you, I mean, I've heard a few stories in my time of people, you know, literally starting with now and against the odds and sort of pulling it off. It's quite inspiring. Like I've heard this sort of banded around. Southpaw gave me some notes. Investment. You've got a lot of investment from southern-based investors, basically. Tell us about that.
Well, there's two sides to that. One is, you know, we arrange projects for southern-based investors who buy them themselves.
Right.
So we kind of, you know, manage it all. So they'll be buying properties and renting them out, and we'll be the sort of go-to. So it helps the local area a lot. You know, we bring a lot of income into the local area. We help people sell their houses. We employ builders. And also, you know, we let to tenants and stuff and give them sort of refurbed houses. So it's got a good effect. But what we went into more so after that was actually we become the buyer. Right. Because we found that we were doing this for other people was kind of only a means to an end. And obviously they get the benefit from it ultimately. So we sort of switched it and focused a lot more on raising funds. And then our companies become the buyers. So we basically do the services for ourselves. And then we help investors to get good returns. Most of our investors get better returns than what you would get on most other investment vehicles. And then we use our infrastructure to sort of buy houses, do them up, rent them out. And then everybody's a winner.
How do you get these investors? I mean, now obviously you've got a reputation, right? And people, I imagine, come to you now.
Yeah.
How did that initially start? You getting these people?
Good question, and it's a very common question in property investment because a lot of people they never get told about raising money. Like who have you ever met that says,
Never.
"Oh, I raise funds," you know?
Never ever.
But it's common with in rich people's circles. You know, raising funds is a very common thing. Like Elon Musk, we talk about. You know, he bought Twitter. He didn't buy it with his own money.
Did he not?
No, he might have put some in, but he raised money for it with investors. You know, so it's very, very common in business on the bigger scale. So basically, I had to shift my mindset to get into that, which was very difficult coming from, you know, a council estate. You know,
worlds apart, aren't they?
Yeah, the mindset of council estate is sort of hobbles business a little bit, and I'm not saying that in any bad way, but it's just, you know, if somebody drives into a council estate in a Ferrari, how many people do you know would say, like, "Wow, that's inspirational, he must do well," versus people who say, "Oh, who's that flash twat?" You know, so that's the difference basically. You know, when people resent people who do well, which is very common in council estates, if people go out the box, people try to pull them back down, rather than saying, "What's he doing?" Because we should learn from it and we should try and do that because it seems like it works. That's probably sort of an affliction of, you know, working class people. And it's difficult because I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying it because it would be a solution to some of these people's problems.
No, it's true.
So
it's true. I 100% know.
So I had to go through that. I had to change my mindset, and I didn't believe in myself a lot, you know, the early days. I thought, how is someone going to give me any money to do something in business? You know, and you just build up over time. And then when it happens, when it works, you know, you move forward. And now it just seems like common sense. You know, if you've got a business, you need funds, you raise the money, you do it, you give them safeguards, you have contingencies. It's just pretty normal.
Your business, you sound pretty clued up in business. Have you done any like business education, or is it all like self-learned?
So mostly self-learned. Obviously, with the internet, there's lots of stuff available. But I did do formal courses with Robert Kiyosaki's sort of licensing company.
Right.
But it wasn't like a degree. It was just weekend courses and stuff.
Mm.
But yeah, that helped because it got me in the network of people that thought like that. And it kind of, a bit like the book, you know.
The Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah, it got me rubbing shoulders with people who were used to this sort of stuff.
Right.
And then obviously you evolve, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, don't you? So
That's what they say.
yeah, so I think it's true.
How important has networking been in your journey?
Pivotal. Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
that's major.
Yeah, I would say so, because in the early days, the stuff we used to do with the like Southern-based investors was sort of the income that got us, you know, the stability and the foundation to move forward, and that was from networking. So, and it's also the mindset shift as well. If I didn't have the network, I was just on my own, and I would never have known what to do or believed in it enough. But when I surrounded myself by people doing it in an organised way, you know, you just do it. You just feel like you're part of that.
You step into it.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting. I'm not going to pretend I fully understand how it works, but you certainly sound like you do, so that'll do me. Tell us about Homes Under the Hammer. How's that come about?
Yeah, so that was, obviously we do a lot of projects and we buy at auction a lot.
Right.
So in the last few years, I just thought I want to have a bit of fun with this. You know, I've been doing it for years, over and over again. You know, so I reached out to them, and you have to go through a kind of audition process and application process. But we got through that, and then once we did the first one, they were like saying, you know, let us know when you have new ones. And since then, we've done 4 episodes.
Right.
I think one was last month, the most recent airing. And yeah, it's been really fun. Like, they're a good team. I just did it for a bit of fun. I don't know why. Like, you know, I haven't got much business from it or anything.
Have you not?
You'd think so.
I thought you would have done.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been not a game changer, but I thought that would have been a big hit.
Yeah. That's probably one of the reasons I was thinking of doing it, was that I thought that something might come of it and you might get a bit more sort of, but that's not what happened really. I've had 2 calls from it where people said, I've seen you on Homes Under the Hammer. Would you know, help me to buy houses or buy our house? And none of them have come to anything yet. So there's actually like no business come from it.
No.
Which is interesting.
But it looks good on the portfolio, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Really. Not many people can say they've been on Homes Under the Hammer, so.
Yeah, and a lot of business might come from it, like, you know, what I'm not aware of as well.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, not everybody would say, I've seen you on Homes Under the Hammer. Could be word of mouth, you know. It could be somebody's told somebody who has seen you on Homes Under the Hammer, you know.
That's right, yeah, exactly, yeah. But
I think it is difficult to, you know, sort of track exactly where your business is coming from. You can get a good idea, but you definitely won't be getting it exactly. It's impossible.
Yeah, I think so. But I think the overall experience of doing it was just, you know, a good laugh, and it's something to put on your sort of show reel and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, being on TV and all your family and friends seeing you on TV, what did that feel like? Was that a bit intimidating, or?
Yeah. I've done radio before with the music.
Yeah.
That was probably harder because, like, singing and playing the guitar, like, live on radio. I mean, I look back and think, like, compared to just Homes Under the Hammer was just speaking about property, which I do anyway. That was easy compared to that.
Yeah.
So I did have a backdrop of something that was harder, but no, it was good. I mean, I don't know. The kids are not bothered. You know, you'd think they'd be like, "Oh, there's my dad," but they just say, I can't be bothered to watch it and stuff. So.
I bet that's a bit of a proud moment for your parents, though, because that, you know, they went from, "Oh God, what are you doing? This is you know, your music's your life," and then no, I'm going into property, and now I'm going on TV as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the take homes from it. Actually, it's not whether you get business from it; it's symbolic in some ways. Like, people perceive it as if you've achieved a certain level, which is strange because it doesn't mean you have, but it sort of endorses you to people a bit.
100% no, I get that. Yeah, that's going to look very good if you're approaching investors, I imagine. Yeah, I can see that. So I'm going to ask, where do you want to take? I ask a lot of guests this. Where do you want to take Hanafin Estates?
That's a good question.
What's the end goal here?
Yeah, so I deal with that question a lot myself because sometimes I don't know why I'm doing the estate agency bit because I was already busy. I think it's just like a natural evolution, really, because we're in property that much. It's just sort of happened, and it's just basically called upon me to evolve into an estate agent. I don't know how long we're going to do it, whether it'll go work or not. It's just a case of like evolving the business, and we're in a position where we can help people to sell their houses. And so far, the ones that we've got on the books have sold or been agreed or had offers really quickly. So if we can do that and it works and people get value from it, then, you know, it's sort of using the expertise I've built up over the last 9 years to a good end. Yeah, so I think we're eventually going to employ people to take over the office as such. It's not going to be me. But, you know, that's the direction I would go. If it picks up, we'll employ people and hopefully provide another estate agent in Darlington for people. More agents means, you know, better service levels for the customers, really. And then I'll just keep doing what I'm doing in the background with what I do. And yeah.
You ever thought of, like, I mean, is this in the sort of long-term plan, like other areas, like, you know, spreading further afield, you know, different offices?
Yeah.
Or do you already work nationwide?
We already do like property investment in different areas.
Right.
But in terms of like the franchise and the business and stuff, no plans for that at the moment. I think, you know, just getting the one in Darlington off the ground, getting it to have regular sales and stuff, that's the first sort of thing. And I'm not looking beyond that, really.
No.
I don't really have a goal to do franchising or branch out or have other offices.
No.
But, you know, I didn't have a goal to do this, so...
No, I guess not. Yeah, no. Huh. Well, look, for what it's worth, from an outsider looking in, I think your company looks great branding, great company. You're obviously
Thank you.
An incredible businessman. We are going to wrap it up soon, but this is just a personal thing, right? I want to know about this Mensa.
Yeah.
Right. What is Mensa?
Yeah, it's something I don't talk about much because it's mixed reaction from people.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, sometimes people think, oh, you think you're clever with that and stuff, but it's basically, it's high IQ society, isn't it?
Right.
So it sounds like more mad than what it is, but it's like we said earlier, like you'd think that high IQ was like poncy people who know everything and looking down on people saying, oh, you know, you haven't got a high IQ, I'm better than you. No. When you go to Mensa, it's like really different.
Is it?
So I just did it a few years ago. I did the tests and stuff just out of curiosity. And I passed it and I got in. So I thought, well, that's interesting. I'll just do that for another bit of exploration in my life, you know. So I went to the meetings and stuff. And I actually found it to be very different. Like, it was a lot of people who were on the border of, like, you know, insanity type of thing.
Really?
You know, I'm not saying that derogatory. They're all really clever people, really nice people.
But a bit spectrum-y.
It wasn't like people that were like all like really sorted. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm really clever, I'm sorted. So I learned that people who have their life together is nothing to do with IQ. Huh. It's possibly inversely related, but it's more like discipline and habits and stuff that get people far in life.
Really?
And structure and things. But high IQ is like, it can be a blessing and a curse. You know, it can drive you crazy and like, you can go, you can't, I don't specialise enough, really. I do different stuff all the time. And that might be a problem, you know, possibly. So I got a mixed reaction from it where it was a lot more almost like linked with mental health than the other way around.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I've always wondered. I've heard that banded around, that word, Mensa. You know, from a divvy's perspective, I was just something to do with brainy people, but never really knew. Well, did you get any, like, is there any perks? Like, is there like a Christmas do? Like,
yeah, there's a annual gathering, and I go to that, and it's next month actually in Leeds.
Do you feel like have you been to one before? Yeah.
Yeah, I go quite a lot actually.
Is there like a lot of like, oh, I'm brainier than you?
No,
no.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
none of that.
No, it's a lot of people who are like sort of just like in their own heads, like you know, and it's like they're nice people, you know, really humble and that. And
Yeah.
it's I think that's what it's for, you know. I think the founding of it wasn't meant to be like a Ponzi thing. It was meant to be almost like, you know, I feel like this and I can't control my brain, so let's meet up together and have some sort of social cohesion
together,
and make each other feel better. But there's a strange vibe in the rooms though, when you know everyone's like, you have to pass the IQ level thing to get in, which is a bit like discriminatory, and that's why people don't like it, because I think like you're sort of like excluding people based on IQ and all that. But that's what it is. You don't, you know. But there's a funny energy. It's like,
I can imagine.
it's just everyone's brains are just going like that in the room. It's like, it's.
I can imagine it'd be like, you know, like only the high IQ people can hear, like a dog whistle, like a constant like buzz across the room, you know, like
Possibly, yeah.
You know
It's kind of like that, yeah.
No, I imagine. But listen, mate, you know, call it what you like. When you can say you're part of Mensa, like, it doesn't look too bad, does it?
Well,
You know what I mean?
It says here, just off a little Google, it says to qualify for Mensa, you need to score on the top 2% on a standardised IQ test.
Yeah.
So that
Top 2%.
seems fairly high.
Yeah, I got on 1% actually.
Right.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I got 154,
Out of?
160, because they only go up to 160 on the British Mensa test.
Right.
But it's like I didn't finish the paper as well, like because I'm out of time. So, but then again, I think that's the point. But I think that everyone's got their own talents. I always think like, and someone else will have a talent in something, you know, and when they find that, then that's what, you know, they're sorted. I don't know if like the high IQ thing is something that I've benefited from, if you know what I mean. In terms of like the Mensa thing, it's just a theoretical thing. You don't achieve nothing by going there.
No. But if somebody, look, if you're in a pool of people, right, let's just say you're up for some kind of investment from somebody, but they're also looking at other people. If they've got 3 people in front of them and one of them is part of Mensa, look, who are you going to go with? I'm just saying.
I think it's like one factor, isn't it? It's like having a CV, isn't it? And you say, I've got this, I've got that. That could be one thing, but I think in practice, things like investment, they'd be superseded by like trustworthiness, track record in business. And I think it could be linked slightly, but I do think everyone's got their own quirks and abilities. And nobody's better than somebody else because they're better at one thing. So like if someone's good at sport, then that's their thing. Someone's good at academics, that's their thing. That's probably my sort of aptness is academic stuff. But like, look at Wayne Rooney, for example, like he's achieving more than me and half the people in Mensa. So who's right and who's wrong? It's just everyone's sort of each to their own sort of thing.
Yeah, well said. I guess so. Yeah, I still think it's very impressive, and you know, I'm sure one day I'll be part of Mensa. You know, just haven't done the test. That's all it is. You know what I mean? So before we go, is there any other projects that you got going on? Is there anything that's in the pipeline? Anything we don't know about?
Not really. I've got like Hanafin Estates is the biggest project for me at the minute. You know, we've opened an office. It's quite intense. That's what I've got going on. In the background, I've always got kind of the music as a hobby. So I have been recording a song recently, and I've got a lad from Manchester singing it. So hopefully I'll have that sort of put together and do something with that. But I don't really expect anything to come from that. It's just now like something to sort of personally honour my background to keep doing it. And
You never know, though.
yeah, I mean, the thing is, I thought that for a lot of years and never got nothing back from it, you know. So in my 20s, you know, I thought, you never know, I might get somewhere. And music's a tough one for that. It's basically low probability of success. So I figured out that, you know, doing it for my own sort of, I don't know, mental health or something, or my own personality is all I can ask from it, really.
Yeah, and if that's all it ever is, then it's worth its weight in gold.
That's right, yeah. And it's for my personal close family as well. For like my mum and dad, my kids to know that I'm sort of doing what I love as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully, like, for example, the kids can do that. And yeah, but I don't have time at the minute, like, to do it. That's the problem.
Yeah, you seem like a busy guy. So how can, I mean, just before I do, would you still gig or not?
That's a good question, because a lot of people ask me, a lot of the people who used to come to the gigs, you know, they're often getting on to me saying, you have to do my wedding or you have to do this anniversary or something. And I literally like stopped when I stopped.
Right.
And I haven't done a single gig since. That was in 2015, I think. I'm just a bit like that, you know, all or nothing type tendency. But the problem is, if I was to do one, I'd have to like rehearse and sharpen up for one event. And it's never really sort of worth it, because I always think like, well, I haven't done it for years. People are going to expect me to be like I used to be. They're going to come and I might be like rusty, and I don't want to present myself like that.
No.
So unless I was doing it fully, I don't think I'll do it.
Well, you know, that might change.
It might, yeah, it might.
You know, you've obviously got a passion for music and songwriting, and
Yeah.
Well, look, that's the answer for now. I'll keep my eye out. So, how can I was going to say how can people get in touch with you for your music, but we won't do that because it isn't something you're pushing. But how can people, if somebody wants you to help them sell their home, or you know, any of the sort of services that Hanafin Estates offers, how can they get in touch?
So hanafinestates.co.uk.
It's a website.
Yeah, that's the website. We're on social media, 16 Duke Street as well. So that's the property business. I am on SoundCloud for the music, but it's a mixture of like old stuff.
Right.
So it's not really like, you know, there's a lot of stuff I wrote when I was a teenager and stuff like that.
If people wanted to explore,
If people wanted to, they could, yeah.
How could they find it?
SoundCloud, Paul Hanafin, search for Paul Hanafin.
Just your name.
Yeah, I don't know the address, but it's just if you search SoundCloud for Paul Hanafin, it will come up. But I'm on Instagram myself, Paul Hanafin Property, and that's about it, really.
Well, mate, I'm pretty inspired, and I'm sure people listening to this will be. Amazing, you know, guy from a council estate ended up with a degree in a first degree in I can't say it. How do you say
Medicinal chemistry.
Medicinal chemistry. I just keep saying medical.
I don't
chemistry.
think you're passing that Mensa
No,
test.
I'm not getting it. Yet, mate. Oh, I might. And look, you've gone from that to busking, and now you're running a very successful property company.
Well, I'm inspired by you guys as well and what you've got going on here. You're obviously really talented at this. The setup's great. You know, you're a good host, and I wish you the best, and it's a pleasure to take part.
Really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been People Like Us. Thank you for watching. We will see you next time.